Hey there Wargamers, and welcome to another POV tutorial video. In this video, we're going to go over how I do my alien bases. Let's get started. Okay, so I've started this base by gluing on one of the battlefield rocks, and now we're going to switch over to some texture paint, and we're going to cover the whole base in this except for the rock that we glued on earlier. And what you want to do with the texture paint is use an old brush and move it around the entirety of the base and avoid getting it on the feet. The best way to do this, I've found, is just kind of go around the feet and then come back in later with a sculpting tool or a hobby knife or a smaller brush. We're also trying to avoid the rim of the base here. It is going to be painted over, but we just don't want any texture on the rim of the base. Now I am laying the texture paint on pretty thick here. I like to put a pretty thick layer on to start out and kind of work with it as it dries. I feel like I get a better texture quality in the end result when I work with it this way. And now we'll go in with our sculpting tool and just kind of push the texture paint in towards the feet. And I'm also kind of twisting the sculpting tool here, just trying to add a little bit of variation in texture on the base here. And this is something I tend to do continuously until it dries. And once it's dry, we're going to switch over to the matte black. And we're going to use this to pretty much coat the entire base. You're probably going to want 2 thin coats of this over the entirety of the base and the rock that we glued on before. Always thinning our paints with a bit of water, and we will go ahead and do one nice coat over the base here. Your first coat will be a bit translucent here, so you'll definitely want 2 to 3 thin coats on your base here. And the battlefield rock takes paint incredibly well. You'll see you don't really need to base coat it or prime it in any way. Once you've got a nice even coat on the base, we're going to switch over to some dark tone here, some wash. And this is going to help kind of marry the color between the rock and the base itself. As you can see, the rock is a little bit more kind of darker for whatever reason, a little bit more matte. So we're going to try to bring those two together here with the dark tone. And I'm actually using a dry brush for this just to kind of get this washed down as quickly as possible. And don't be afraid to get a little wash on the feet too, because it kind of adds to the effect. Alright, now we're going to move over to a different step. I'm going to pull out the uniform gray here, and we're going to add a touch of water to this, and we're actually going to dry brush this over the entirety of the base here. Once you've got a good amount of that on your brush, go ahead and grab a paper towel and work that into your brush there, just like this here, until you kind of have just a faint amount of paint left on the brush. And you're just going to lightly drag this across the top here. And as you can see, we're just getting a little bit of detail on those raised edges, trying to make it pop a little bit more. Once you get a nice dry brush over the entire base, we're going to switch over to some Brain Matter Beige. And with this, we're just going to kind of do some small ovals around the entirety of the base. This is just going to be set up for another step in the future. And as I'm doing this here, I'm kind of just looking for the divots and the lower kind of areas of the base here. Feel free to do as many or as little as you like, whatever feels right to you. And I went ahead and did a couple on the rock as well. And don't be afraid to give the dots varying shapes and sizes. It'll just add interest to the model. And be sure to add a second layer once you're happy with the amount of dots that you put down. Alright, moving right along, we're going to be switching over to a speed paint. We're going to be switching to Orc Skin. And we're going to use this to go right over top of the dots that we did in Brain Matter Beige. Now since this is speed paint, you won't need very much, especially if you add water to it. So I'm going to add a little bit of water here. And you're looking for about that consistency. You don't really need too much. And carefully go in and just start covering those dots. And you will probably need about 2 thin coats of this as well, just to get the color that you're looking for. And you can use this basing style for pretty much any alien faction. You can change the colors of either the dots or the actual base, and it tends to be pretty quick, and I find that it comes out with a pretty good result. And on to one of our final steps here. We're going to switch back to our matte black, and we are just going to go along the rim here of the base. And this is kind of a good opportunity to go in and cover up any dots that you decided you don't want, or any mistakes you made on the base. And you will probably want, again, 1 to 2 layers on the rim of the base here, just to get that stark contrast again. As you can see, as we build our layers up, we're getting a bit of a difference between the color of the rim of the base and the areas that we dry brushed on top. Alright, once you've got good coverage on the rim of the base here, we can go ahead and set that aside to dry. And once that dried, I kind of realized there was some spots that I wanted a little bit darker, some of the green areas that I wanted a bit darker, so I went back in with the Orc Skin and just kind of went over those. And finally, we will finish off our base with a thin coat of the matte varnish. And you can go a little heavy on the matte varnish. It's pretty much just a layer to protect the paint and make the paint pop just a tad. Be sure to hit the rim with a layer of matte varnish, give it time to dry, and your alien base is good to go. And yeah, as you can see, it's not super flashy, but this is a very quick and easy way to get a decent result on your bases. I hope you guys found this video useful, and thanks for watching.